Please welcome Nick Rockwell.
Thank you. I'm truly honored to be here today representing the New York Times. At the Times, we've been working with Google Cloud for over 2 years. In fact, we just fully completed our cloud migration journey in April. We moved all of our consumer-facing products to Google Cloud, and it's been a huge win for us on so many levels. But I'm not going to talk about that today. Instead, I have something really special for you. I'm incredibly proud to announce a new transformative partnership with Google Cloud. Today, the New York Times and Google Cloud are embarking on a truly amazing mission. We're going to scan, encode, and preserve our entire historical photo archive, and while we're at it, evolve the way in which the newsroom tells stories by putting powerful new tools for visual storytelling into the hands of our journalists. The New York Times Photo Archive is one of the most comprehensive libraries of visual journalism in the world. It's a treasure trove of historical imagery, millions and millions of photographs spanning from the 1800s up to nearly the present day. It's one of the great gems of the Times, the collective work of hundreds of skilled photojournalists and artists who, through their talents, have given us a breathtaking chronicle of humanity, truly one of the great memorializations of the human experience. These are actual physical prints stored in filing cabinets and using an old-school card catalog system as its index, with the help of a few heroic archivists who somehow seem to know where everything is. I've been in there, and it's quite an experience. The photo archive contains images on every imaginable subject, from science to sports, wars to weddings, protests to parties. It contains portraits of statesmen and movie stars, as well as shopkeepers and children, politicians as well as passers-by, snapshots of personalities, lifestyles, and trends throughout the last 150 years, the vast majority of which have never been published. These photographs aren't just images from our past, they are themselves historical artifacts. Each Times photo is marked up like a well-traveled passport. The prints have stamps, dates, notes, publication history, clipped captions, and other vestiges of their travels throughout the newspaper's history, written, taped, or glued on the back. Each image has a story of its own, and preserving those stories is just as important as preserving the images themselves. And so we will capture all of that information, those marks and traces as well. What you see here are just a handful of the millions of photographs that are being digitized, tagged, classified, every handwritten note captured and made accessible, made visible through this partnership. But critically, this project is not first and foremost about preservation. It's about storytelling. By making the archive accessible, we make it possible to reach back into the past and tell stories that were left untold. To put the archive and its vast potential in perspective, consider Unpublished Black History, a series that we published every day during Black History Month in February of 2017, built around a collection of never-before-seen photographs featuring some of the most iconic faces in American history. It gave the world a fresh look at such figures as Shirley Chisholm, the first Black woman elected to Congress, iconic figures such as Martin Luther King Jr. and James Baldwin, Lena Horne through an incredible story about how Harry Belafonte helped her secure her apartment at a time when white property owners wouldn't sell co-ops to African Americans, no matter how famous or wealthy. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar towering over his high school teammates when he was still known as Lou Alcindor. Or Run DMC performing at a benefit concert in 1986, to name just a few. This series delivered a new perspective on our collective story as Americans. It was the labor of love of 7 full-time journalists, and it took over 3 months of painstaking archival research to produce. The archive is full of these stories, but we're limited by the precious time and expertise of our journalists and researchers. So imagine what will be possible with the new digital photo archive. We will move from file cabinets in a basement, card catalogs, and faded hand-scratched notes as metadata to life in the cloud, where journalists will have the tools to access, research, interrogate, and wander through this archive with unprecedented ease and efficiency, unearthing lost gems, making connections, creating stories. Using Google Cloud Storage to store the digitized assets, Google PubSub for workflow orchestration of the digitization process, Google Spanner to manage and index the metadata, metadata parsed and digitized in part by Cloud Vision, all in a reliable and effortlessly scalable architecture. This will truly change the game. It will allow us to research archival stories not in months, but in as little as a week. It will help us scale series like Overlooked, in which we go back and write the obituaries of those who left an indelible mark on history, but who were nonetheless overlooked. Many of them women, such as Charlotte Bronte, the author of Jane Eyre, on whom we never ran an obituary. Or Emily Warren Roebling, who oversaw construction of the Brooklyn Bridge when her husband, Washington Roebling, fell ill. Ida B. Wells, who campaigned against lynching via brave and pioneering reporting for the Memphis Free Speech and Headlight, a paper she co-owned and edited. And Mary Ewing Outerbridge, who introduced the game of tennis to the US by smuggling a tennis net home from a vacation in Bermuda. The New York Times newsroom will bring these stories to life for our readers through the beautiful, emotionally resonant visual journalism that we are known for, and that helps all of us to better understand the world. This work is made possible by the New York Times StoryX partnership team and our colleagues at Google Cloud. It's an initiative that will unlock the past, connect it to the present, and reveal the world's most important untold stories for future generations and for years to come. Thank you very much.
Please